Alrighty. Welcome to the Mercer Council, or Mercer, hold on. There we go. Welcome to the Prevention Coalition of Mercer. I am Melissa Arnold. I am the coalition coordinator. And then hold on, there's some interference here. Okay, so I am the coalition coordinator. Ruth is my is the DFC coordinator, so she's right there with me in the trenches. And then of course, as many of you know, Barb, this was her duty for, oh my gosh, the last 11 years, right? And she is down to 2 days a month, and her days are literally numbered. She is counting them down to retirement. And then she's just a little secret. She's not leaving us completely, but she is stepping back in a lot of the responsibilities she has. And they are incredibly big and responsible shoes to fill. So, so we're working on that. So we are still working on our mailing lists. We have had some interesting things going on with our email. As Barb shared her contacts with me, and then all the other contacts were kind of bleeding in. We're still trying to refine that. So please, we apologize if it's not going to the right email, things like that. So if you want to send corrections, please do, because we're constantly trying to get that to work better. I did have an icebreaker. Now that I'm looking at it, it's probably going to be a little too long. We were just going to do some holiday mashups that I did for our staff.
We can do like 2 or 3
for our holiday party. They're very funny. So what we would have you do is I would share this with you, and then if you know the answer, you yell out your name so that we can address you, or so we can hear your answer here. But the thing is, you have to sound these out. So what they are is, it's kind of phonetic, silly words that are a phrase once you work them out, but you have to kind of twist your brain a little bit. So my council people, if you remember playing this game, please don't do it again so that other people have a chance. All right. Here we go. We'll just do a couple of them. We'll start with a really easy one. So, can everyone see that? Okay, so go ahead and unmute yourself and call out your name if you know the answer. This one's
Shirley.
Okay.
Jingle bells.
Very good. So that is the easiest one of the bunch. Just letting you know. It doesn't get easier from this point on. Okay. All right, next.
Oh, Christmas tree.
All right, very good.
Good job, Jamie.
Right. This one was really hard for a lot of people.
Festival of Lights.
Oh my goodness, who was that? You
No.
got that one.
Sergeant Martinez.
Wow, you got that really good. That was really fast. All right. This one's a little diabolical. I love it. I don't think anyone ever got this one, did they? Maybe Jocelyn. Anyone want to
Yeah, I
take a
think
guess?
Jocelyn did.
Is it Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
It is not.
Oh,
That was a good guess, though.
Has the same amount of words.
The background helps a little bit.
It's the dreidel song probably, but I can't really figure that out.
I think that was Carol, right?
Yeah.
Yes. It's
Dreidel,
oh,
dreidel, dreidel. I made it out of clay.
We made it out of play. Yep. This one's easy.
Mistletoe.
Very
Very
good.
good.
This one's kind of easy too.
Open
Open
present.
presents.
Open presents, very good. This one's a little harder. Anyone sounding it out?
I'm like seeing everyone's lips.
See, I can't see anyone because all I can see is my screen. So I'm missing the fun. That's part of the fun of this. Thank you, honey. Oh, shoot. Okay, anyone want to guess on that?
I'm only getting comfy.
Oh.
Comfy
right,
cozy
well.
are we?
Yes, comfy, cozy, or we. And then here's my last one. I thought it was really hard, but then Barb came in and just completely annihilated my confidence on this one.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm hearing some pronunciation here. So if you're around during the 80s and 90s,
Maybe you should give a hint on what it is.
okay, so the last word is movie. And this is a controversial statement that it's kind of 50-50. The population believes this or doesn't believe this. It's completely silly, by the way. Anyone?
Die Hard, a Christmas movie.
Yes, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. There you go. So that was our attempt there. Thanks for playing along. It's funnier when I can see everyone's faces and everyone trying to like pronounce it. But yeah, we'll move on to business and real stuff now. But that was fun. Thank you for indulging me here. So according to the agenda, now we're actually I'll call you out and you'll just, I'll call you out. No, I'm just going to call your name just by how I see you. Just give a brief introduction. We will have time at the end to talk about events and more about your organizations. So we'll start with Barbara Spreckman.
Barbara Spreckman, almost retired.
Carol Feldman.
Carl Feldman, CJF LifeWorks, and Shine and Inspire.
All right, Sergeant Martinez.
Sergeant Benjamin Martinez, New Jersey National Guard Counter Drug Task Force.
Okay, Joe Armano.
Peter Joe Armano, the Mercer County Sheriff's Office.
So glad to have you. Jayshree.
Sorry, Jayashree Kalvichwala, PCMC co-chair.
All right, Carol Nicholas.
Greater Mercer Public Health Partnership, and also partnering with Carol Chamberlain for the drug collection take back program.
Allison Sahu.
Allison Sahu, City of Angels and Chronic Healing, Bucks County.
So glad to have you. Al.
Hi, Al Grouper, East Windsor Alliance.
Shirley Roberts.
Hi, Shirley Roberts, Robert Wood Johnson, Hamilton, Community Education.
So glad you guys are here. It's so good to see everyone again. Vanessa Peters.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Peters. I'm a family support advocate with the Family Support Center, sharing the Hope Family Support Center of Prevention Resources.
Wonderful. Ellen. They're
I'm
super
not
members.
affiliated anywhere. I'm just me. I'm a citizen that has concern in this area and tries to help wherever they need me.
All the places, all the places. She's everything. She always says, "Oh, I'm unaffiliated." Oh no, she's ours. We're keeping you. All right, Jamie Wright.
Amy Wright, Rider University, conduct.
So behave, everyone. Ashley.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Ashley Sudol from New Jersey Prevention Network.
We're so glad you're here. Jessica, we're glad you're back.
Thank you. Hey, Melissa. Hi, everybody. Jessica Stepanek, Regional Coalition and Project Coordinator for Prevention Connections, Family Guidance Center, Warren County. There's a lot of words there. Sorry.
I was going to say, what county? Natasha? Partners in Prevention? Is that what you said? Okay. Camille.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Camille Bloomberg Counseling, Private Practice. Just want to say congratulations, Barb, on retiring. I am going to have to scoot relatively early because I have clients. So congratulations.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Camille. I know this is a busy time for everyone. Ruth.
Hello, everyone. Drug-Free Communities Coordinator from the Mercer Council on Alcoholism and Drug Addiction.
You were like, it's funny the way it rearranges because she was right next to me and Barb was right next to me and then everyone just kind of shifted.
I'm always next to you in spirit, Melissa.
Oh, that's true. That's very true. Angela.
I am Angela Campos. I'm the Prevention Educator at Mercer Council.
And next we have, okay, Lisa.
Lisa Kaufman, Mercer Council on Alcoholism and Drug Addiction.
And Vanessa.
Hi, good morning. Vanessa DeRosa from Mercer Council.
And
next we have Heidi Kame.
Good morning, everyone. Heidi Kame with the Hopewell Valley Municipal Alliance and also Student Program Coordinator in Hopewell Valley Regional School District.
We're glad to have you, Heidi. Okay, Chris.
I'm Chris Freeman with the College of New Jersey in our Counseling Prevention Services office with our Alcohol and Drug Support Services program.
We're glad to have you. Shannon, I was actually talking about you yesterday. How excited we are to have you.
Thank you. Shannon McEachern, Mercer County Alliance Coordinator.
Angelo.
Good morning, everyone. This is Angelo Raganisi. I'm from the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, the PFS grant.
You look very jolly with your beard. It's very seasonal. Not that extreme, but it looks really great. Ian.
Ian Smith, Mill Hill Child and Family Development.
I know. Old habits die hard. He's always
They
going
do.
He's always going to be one of us.
And congrats, Barbara.
And Giselle? I always say it wrong. Giselle?
Oh, you actually said it right.
All
Giselle.
right.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. It's so good to see everyone. My name is Giselle. I am a coalition coordinator from Partners in Prevention. Thank you.
Okay, everyone shifted again. So Sophia, I believe we're on you.
Good morning, everyone. Sophia Johnson from DCF CSOC, and I am the Prevention Coordinator for the PFS grant, the Southern Region.
It should be central because there is no, I am just kidding. But we're glad to have you, Sophia. And I don't know,
Thank you.
Pollock, were you able to come back?
Yeah, I'm back. Hi, everyone. I'm Paul from NJPN.
All right, we're so glad to have so many regional coalition partners on and NJPN. So we are actually, according to our agenda, we are actually going to move on to our, for some reason, my agenda disappeared. Excuse me. Let me just get that back. There it is. All right. So we are now going to just check in. Are there any announcements from our exec board? We couldn't think of anything, but we just wanted to give you a second if you needed. All right, we're going to move on. Our presentation today is going to be by Carol Feldman. For those of you who've never interacted with her, she is fantastic. She is just as energetic as her picture looks with that beautiful purple hair. She is inspiring. She one personal connection is that she helps run these closets through, I believe through Shine and Inspire, in the local schools. And I know she has one at Ewing that has blessed so many lives, providing everything from clothing to school supplies. And I know personally, we've done some drives for her in the past, and we hope to do that again soon once we get to see each other more in person. I asked her to speak today because she is very, one of the main resources and connections we have to Carol here at Mercer Council is that she runs several grief groups and support for the recovery community. And I thought she would have some tips on some of the feelings that we might be feeling during the holidays and family connectiveness and some other things like that. I gave her some ideas and I let her make it her very own. So with no further ado, I will spotlight you now, Carol, and make it so we can hear you and you have the floor. We're so glad to have you.
Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for inviting me. I don't see a lot of familiar faces. There are a few in the audience, so many of you don't know me. So I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a certified addiction specialist. So I am primarily in private practice. I work 2 days a week as an on-site at Bank of America, where I do on-site counseling as well as trainings on grief, depression, anxiety, you name it, anything that is requested. And what I've seen over the last year is a great deal of pain, confusion. Where are we going? So during the pandemic, I pivoted my practice totally to be online. And what I heard from so many people was the word overwhelmed. And I continue to hear that now. Once we pivoted to the pandemic, we had to figure out how to do everything we used to do, but different. And now as we've come out of the pandemic, once again, you have to rearrange your lives. Everybody got into a routine during the pandemic. We figured out how to get the kids here and get the kids to grandma and get their Chromebooks working, and all that very nicely worked. Now you're back on site. Well, all that time that you used to do those things isn't there anymore. So a number of things are happening right now. One is many people, when they work from home, never shut down their computers. So their bosses were very happy. Management was happy because people were working even more. Now they've gone back to having to drive the kids to daycare and having to get the kids to school and driving them to dance at night and all the other things that don't allow that kind of work. So sometimes the expectation is that you still are working up to that level. Overwhelmed. Every single day, somebody walks into my office or onto my Zoom and says, I'm overwhelmed. So one of the things I suggest all the time is how do you find balance in your life? So one of the first things I say is, how many of you have a to-do list? So I can't see you all now. I can only see a few people now. I like being able to see faces. But how many of you have a to-do list? And how many things are on that list? So what I'm going to suggest is 3. Take 3 things, prioritize them, 4 if you must, but no more than that, and prioritize them. What has to be done today? And then put the others aside. And as you do one, then you can add one more to the list. If you think about it, if you say, I have to clean the house, and you walk into your house and every room's a mess, do you start methodically and clean each room? Or do you close the door and say, I'll get to it later? Most people are not going to get it done because it's overwhelming. So if you pare things down a little bit and be realistic, that's how you can begin to find balance in your life. If you want to see some interesting thing that I did yesterday. So I was in a session with someone and he said to me, and he's a person with anxiety, and he said, what's the opposite of anxiety? And I said, it's an interesting question. I don't think that any 2 people will give you the same answer. So I put it on Facebook. So if you want to friend me on Facebook and read the responses, it's been pretty interesting. how people are responding to what is the opposite of anxiety. And you would be surprised right now how many adults and children are struggling with anxiety and never knew how to define it before. They knew they were feeling something, but they didn't know what it was. Some people wake up in the middle of the night with anxiety. Some people wake up in the morning every single day. And it's a very, very difficult thing to deal with. But there's lots of resources. I don't know how many of you work in companies where you have an employee assistance program, but if you haven't used it, I can't stress enough how valuable that would be to go do your 6 sessions or whatever it is. When I work on site, they don't have to use their 6. They can see me as often as they like. It is a gift that you give to yourself. Never look at going to talk to someone as meaning that there's something wrong with you. I say it means there's something right with you, because you realize something's not feeling just right. Something in the relationship with your partner, with your parents, with your children. And going to talk to someone, I can't tell you how many people, after they've come and they've talked for a while, they say, I don't know why I didn't do this sooner. And I encourage it. I've talked to people all over the world over the pandemic. Some of the good things that happened at the pandemic are also, if you're a journaler, write down the positives of the pandemic, what we call the silver linings. What are the good things that happened in your life as a result of the pandemic? Because there are lots of good things that happened. It wasn't all bad. Yes, terrible things happened and people died and things weren't handled the way they should, but families got closer. I remember a woman talking one day and she said she and her daughter had an okay relationship, but her daughter was away at college and they never really talked. Well, now her daughter was home 24/7 and they started to cook together and they developed a relationship that they had never had before. So if you can think of those positives and say, hold on to them, don't lose them, because they changed your life in a lot of ways. Melissa mentioned that I deal a lot with grief, and I see a lot of people with grief. I do have a group, actually they're on hold in December, but we'll be back in January. That is for anyone who's lost someone to addiction or suicide, but it's also really for anybody who's grieving, because the pain that they experience, especially at this time of year, is unbearable. Because the world shows a Hallmark Christmas and everybody's happy and loving and having this wonderful day. And the reality is there's a lot of people alone at the holidays. I will give you one really important tip. When you are talking to somebody who's grieving, a couple of things. One is never say, how are you? Because they suck. Life's terrible. They couldn't be worse. So don't ask them how they are. Add the word today. And if you just say, how are you today? Then you allow them to be honest with you and say, it's a really bad day, or it's not the worst. I have a mom who said to me, her daughter's gone a little over a year now, and she said, every day is still a hard day, but not every hour is a hard hour. But I can tell you what these families go through is to lose a child, there is nothing that compares to losing a child, no matter how they died, no matter why they died. And the pain that they experience, even when they still have other children, they still have grandchildren, that pain, nobody understands it unless you've lived it. I don't understand it, but I hear them and I listen to them, and it's the most heartbreaking thing that I do. But they find a way to put one foot in front of the other and go to work and play with the grandkids and cook dinner, but the holidays. So the other thing I want to mention about people who are grieving, they really want to talk about their person. They love to talk about their person. They were not just their death. They were children, they were babies, there were funny stories. When you bring them up and you allow them just to talk about them, it really makes them feel good. One of the things that a lot of the families have said to me is people disappear. You know, they don't call, or they don't know what to say, so they say nothing. So I'm going to suggest to you that you do say something, just thinking of you, if you ever need to talk, but allowing them to talk about the person that they lost. Many of them celebrate what they call their angelversary, which is the day they passed, and they also celebrate their birthdays. There are different things that people have done. There are wonderful groups all over for people who are really struggling with grief. But at this time of year, it's important to find the balance. And now what the pandemic has shown us is that we need to really work on balance all the time. And what does that mean? To me, that means eating right, taking a walk every day, something physical, some kind of physical activity. Journaling is a great tool. Not everybody loves it, but it works for some people. Meditation, some kind of calm. When people say, well, I don't have time for that, you have to come first at some point. Self-care, what I focus most on probably in most of my sessions is what I call emotional wellness. I don't use the term mental illness because when you hear the word mental, you run the other way. And the reality is, emotionally, we've all been through this experience. Every single one of us will never be exactly the same as we were before our pandiversary. I call it a pandiversary. My date was March 13th. Every one of you knows your date, right? You know the date that your world pivoted. So it's really important to find the positives and the goods. And I have not looked at my clock. So Melissa, just wave when you want me to stop talking. And if anybody has comments or questions, please, please chime in because I love to interact. But finding the balance in your life, finding what really mattered. It changed. During the pandemic, it changed. Some people never turn the news on. Some people have still not gone to a supermarket. I went out to eat with a friend about a month ago, and was still not willing to eat inside. Okay, which is fine, except it was the night when it was raining and cold and the wind, and we were sitting at Acacia on 206, and there's no sides. So literally, I'm getting rained on the whole time. But we weren't the only ones out there. There were other people that were not willing to sit inside. So for her, I did it. But there are some people that are still there. They're not ready to go inside. And now with another strain, just makes us more nervous. I have a cold this week, and I didn't go to Bank of America yesterday, and they told me I need a COVID test to go back tomorrow, which I had this morning, but probably won't have the results in time. Excuse me, because I am out and about, but I'm triple vaxxed. I've gotten any shot I can get. I've gotten shingles, pneumonia, COVID, whatever shot you want to give me, give them to me. You know, I'm 70. I want to live as long as I possibly can. And, but how do you find balance in your life? You know, some of you, please tell me, like, what are the positive things that happened as a result of the pandemic in your life? I only see like 5 faces, Barbara and Melissa. And there's a gentleman here, but I can't see his name. I can't see your name. If I could see your name, I'd call on you.
I'm
I'll
Camille.
go.
Oh, go ahead.
My wife's family lives in North Jersey, which is a trek. And so we had a perfect excuse not to go up and visit. That was a positive of the pandemic for sure.
Absolutely. You know, one of the women said to me very early on is she said she was so thrilled that for the first time in 30 years, she could have Thanksgiving with her own family. She didn't need none of the extended family had to be part of it. She was so happy. She just wanted to have it with her family. But that people have these, I call them rules, these rules in their family. Like a woman said to me the other day, oh, I got an artificial tree. And I'm like, you know, I'm Jewish. I don't relate to this. What's the difference if you have an artificial tree? But she said, you know, the kids aren't here anymore. And why does something like that matter so much? But people dig their heels in, especially what I call the perfect daughters, the oldest daughter in the family, who's the one who kind of takes care of everything and controls everybody. And this is how it has to be. And I always say, but why does it have to be that way? I'm looking over here because there are faces. I know the camera's there, but I like looking at faces. Why does it have to be that way? Who said it has to be that way? Like you can't wear white after Labor Day. I wear white all year long. These rules, some of these rules that people follow make no sense. None. Toilet paper holders, people fight about things like this. You really got to pick your battles and see what really matters. Whatever kind of tree you have is beautiful. Real, not real, cut down, not cut down. That's not what it's about. It's about being together and not buying lots of expensive gifts that the kids probably don't even play with after one day. But it's really what's important. And I did a workshop not long ago and the title was happiness. So if I asked everybody on this call to define happiness, I would bet that no two of you would say the same thing. Because it's a different definition. What is it? Is it financial? Is it medical? Is it your children? Is it traveling the world? Everybody has a different definition and we get so locked into this is the answer. Like my anxiety question. What's the opposite of anxiety? Is it calm? Is it serenity? Is it peace? How do you know? But I said to him, if you've never not had anxiety, how would you know what it feels like? You imagine what it feels like. And if you know somebody with anxiety or somebody tells you that they have it, let them explain to you what that means, because it's not the same for everybody. I have a woman I've worked with on and off for years who can't make left turns. And when I tell people that story, some people laugh and they say it's really silly. But think about it. Think about going anywhere you need to go and not making one left turn. How much longer would it take you to get to where you needed to go? But those few seconds waiting for that light to change is torture. And it's interesting. I did a session with a group, but I talked about, there were about 20 people in the room, and I see a woman to my left nodding her head. And I said, do you want to talk about it? Because everybody had chuckled when I said it. And then she proceeds to tell her teammates that that's her. She is that person as well, that through her whole life, she's not been able to make left turns, that it is frightening and just impossible. And she'll drive a friend who will drive an hour extra to go to North Jersey to not go on a highway, not go on a turnpike, not go on the parkway. Doesn't care if it takes an hour more. I had a mom who told me if her kid had to go to the hospital, she doesn't know what she'd do because she would not have driven on 95 to get to Capitol Health, which is where her doctors were. I don't think you realize when somebody says that they have anxiety, what that means. On my Facebook responses, somebody said, I have struggled my whole life with it. So I don't know what it would feel like on the other side. And he put this on a very public page. So the way I believe to lessen anxiety, to lessen depression, is to take a holistic approach about eating right, exercising, meditation, exercise, running, walking, dancing, it doesn't matter. Doing something that helps you to feel better. There are a lot of people that are in a constant state of sadness. They don't know anything else because that's all they've ever experienced. Which is why I'm always suggesting go talk to someone. Even if life seems pretty good, go talk to them anyway. Look at it as a luxury, as a gift that you give to yourself, not as that something's wrong. Because we are not perfect people. We don't have perfect lives. I'd worry about anybody who says their life is perfect. Humans aren't perfect. Sorry, I know, camera's there. I'm looking here. I like looking at people. So I see Allison. Allison's one of the people I know, and Shirley that I've known for a long time, really long time. And then there are very few other faces that I recognize. I don't get to go to coalition meetings because I'm in private practice now and I work all the time. I work with recovery advocates whenever I can. That's where my office was for many, many years. And now they closed the office. So I don't have a physical space, but Zoom works for me. Zoom has been a great transition. I may not go back to my office. I still have an office in Pennington, still paying rent, but I don't know that I'm going back. I do a newsletter once a month that if you're interested in, I can give you my email. I'll put it in the chat, or if I'll give you all my contact information if you want to contact me about anything. If you ever want me to come speak to your group about any number of topics, I'm happy to do that. How are we doing on time here, Melissa?
It's like 3 more minutes. Does that work?
Okay. So would
You were
anybody
coming to a natural end there? So
okay, all right. So would anybody have any comments or anything you'd like to share?
I will say, Carol, it's great to see you, Shirley.
Hi, Shirley.
this has been a phenomenal talk, and you asked about the silver lining. I actually had the opportunity during the pandemic to do a whole different job where I found my passion. So that was a silver lining. However, as someone who doesn't have good boundaries, and this speaks to your, the overwhelm, now that the pandemic is over and the world is flooding back in, I'm finding it difficult. So, you really hit the nail on the head, and I appreciate everything you had to say.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. It's good to see you. Who else?
We did have Heidi in the chat saying that one of the findings was her children being closer because they came home. I'm trying to.
Hi,
Thank
this is Camille. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Camille.
I think it's a very odd thing to say, but right at the start of the pandemic, I went full time in my private practice, and I started to panic, like, oh, what's going to happen? And fortunately, as for me, a silver lining, my practice is booming. Unfortunately, my practice is booming. So that is everything you're saying about anxiety. And I will say, I think part of what I'm finding is the normalization of anxiety. And for years, everybody hid their anxiety. But I think the pandemic gave everybody the same platform that we were all anxious about this, and it's okay to be anxious, and it's okay to have anxiety, and now we can get help for it. Before we were shamed about it, now it's part of what everybody's experiencing, and it helps people to say, yeah, I can go get help, I can talk to people, and that is the best silver lining, that we don't have to hide our head in the sand and say, and I'm not. So I appreciate everything. And yeah, thank you.
And Camille is probably the one I know the longest in this group, I think, right? We probably we go way back. But I can tell you, like Camille said, nobody has openings. Any therapist, I don't know where to refer anybody. I haven't taken anybody new in months. I mean, this is the reality of what's going on right now. That if you do want to see someone, make the phone call, get on a waiting list, because it's really hard to find therapists right now.
Yeah, I'm seeing 30 people a week and turning 3 or 4 people away.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I'd like to chime in though. With my, so I come from trauma, and I do come from trauma, but I worked in crisis intervention, and I think that life is absolutely marvelous. We are physically safe. We are no longer living in chaos. And my favorite part of the pandemic has been that it made everybody go home and take a time out. You were required to be in your space and look at life on life's terms. And after years of advocacy, I think that we have moved so much closer to a holistic, trauma-informed world that I only imagined when I started my career, because people finally seem in tune with themselves because they're not stuck in traffic all the time and they're not rushing to get to meetings. People have that, I could pause in between life moment. And I find that the pandemic has really just shaken reality to break up a lot of the insanity that life used to be like. And we are finally at a place where we can have different perspectives, even if it doesn't match the perspectives of other people, but we're allowing people to be themselves. And I think that's been really profound.
I think it's definitely better, but I think we're preaching to the choir here. These are the people that know that and that see that and understand that. But when you get outside of this world, it's still a struggle. Ellen, did you want to say something?
I agree with that to an extent, but I also am acutely aware that it has isolated a lot of people that are in bad home situations and put a lot of people in danger. A lot of people have died when, that have substance use disorder, that were locked behind doors and couldn't get to help. So it's a double-sided coin. Yes. With that, domestic violence suffers, and there's been, and people that suffer from depression, anxiety are isolated, and a lot of people have suffered because they have been isolated.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting thing that's happened. That a lot of people with anxiety, their anxiety lessened once they didn't have to go to the office. Once there was no more water cooler, they didn't have to deal with anybody. They didn't have to deal with people. They were so happy. They built their pretty little office, and if they could stay there forever. So some of them are really struggling with going back on site. People who didn't, really interesting example, at Bank of America, there were a handful of people that were on site the whole time. So one man, he was alone in the building for a year and a half. Great. And then people came back. His anxiety went through the roof because suddenly people were an arm's length away. It was almost a reverse kind of thing that was happening for the people who were on site, but they were alone. So it's been an interesting thing. Anxiety, and people don't get, anxiety is anger, and it comes out in a million different ways. If anybody here described their anxiety, again, you would all give me a different word. It's explosions. People say it's like a volcano erupting, anger, fear. There's so many different ways that you describe anxiety. So I don't know what the answer is. I mean, we need millions more of us, but I don't know who's going into this field right now. Because what Camille's saying, 30 people a week, it's too much. The therapists are having a hard time. The therapists are burning out.
And the medical
because-
professionals are suffering
Yes.
terribly, and the concerns
Absolutely.
about who's going to be there to take care of anybody, somebody that needs a tonsillectomy. That in the future, we have a real problem with anxiety with medical professionals.
Yeah.
And we also have anxiety with children. I think as a parent of a teacher, they're finding kids are coming back into the school, and everyone's like, great, kids are back in school. But behaviors and anxiety of children, things that were usually done by October, the behaviors are still coming out in December. Kids, sometimes for the first time, have been in school and they're in second and third grade, and they don't know how to navigate the system and what to do. And they were home and they were with their parents. One little girl was so distraught because she was leaving her mommy by herself. The mom had to say to her, that's what happens. It's okay. I'm a big girl. But she had been home with her mom from kindergarten through, she's going into second grade now. And she was afraid because she was leaving her mommy by herself. So it's across the board, from the littlest to the oldest having issues, and finding a balance of wellness is, I think, the key words in emotional wellness. Carol, I love that, in the sense of, let's stop labeling mental illness. Let's stop naming mental anxiety as a bad thing. You know what? We're all emotional. Let's do emotional wellness is a really key frame to think about how we say things to people and the words we use and the language we use. I often want to tell people I'm in short-term or long-term recovery, as opposed to I'm an addict. I'm a drug addict. That just sounds so negative. I'm in short-term recovery. I'm working on recovery. It's such a more positive language that we all have to look at and say to others. So my last words, I've got to go see a client. So
all right.
Holidays,
Hi,
everyone.
Camille.
Bye,
Bye, guys.
thanks for what you do, Camille. And
I just want to say one more thing, and then I'll send it back to
Sure.
you, Melissa.
Go
It's
ahead.
not only the people. Your animals are struggling too,
Yeah.
because they have been home with you and the kids, and they've had such a good time, and now you left them again. So you're probably seeing as much anxiety in your dogs. I don't know about cats as much. They're a little bit more independent, but you are probably seeing it in your animals as well, because they like that. They like to have
my cats are ready for me to go back to work, I think.
Okay.
So their staff is too close right now. But thank you, Carol, and I really, really appreciate that. One that I was throwing in is sleep as one of those basic needs.
Yes, absolutely.
It's something I'm still working on. I thought, I'll catch up on sleep and I'll get in a great routine while I'm home, and that hasn't happened. But
You can't catch up.
we thank you so much for the reminders and for the some things to really think about. And I actually did respond to your Facebook page when you said, what's the opposite of
Yes.
anxiety? So that was an interesting discussion to see how people framed it.
Mhm.
So, and just like Camille said, reframing the way that we speak about things, especially in our line of work, addiction, and addict and all of those things. And we do have reminders every once in a while on those kind of topics, but it's always good to remember and to think about. A lot of thank yous coming in on the chat. Carol, thank you so much. I think this is very, very timely. But just to keep our meeting going, and thank you for the discussion. If we want to talk more later, we absolutely will allow for that. But we kind of want to move on to some of the current projects we're doing. One of that is the Empowering Youth resource that Ruth does for us every month. She is so amazing at these things. I've attended a majority of them, and every time I'm just blown away with the amount of work she puts into it. She did a topic last month for family story. I don't know, she'll tell you more, but I thought it really applied to the holidays when we're around our family or when we're contacting our family more. So she said she would share a little bit of that with us. So go ahead, Ruth.
Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen just for my presentation, just because it's already there, so I don't have to reinvent the wheel. So here it is. And this is so familiar. I present on Zoom almost weekly, so this is really good territory for me. So the reason why we wanted to talk about Family Stories Month is because family stories and sharing stories can be a protective factor. And the reason why we are so interested in protective factors is because we work with youth, because we work with people who need protective factors. Everyone does. So the reason why I talked about this especially is because November actually was Family Stories Month, and Family Stories Month is observed in a lot of different ways, but essentially the National Day Calendar basically says, hey, you can observe Family Stories Month by creating prompts to talk to your grandparents, creating prompts to talk to your children, and explaining what it actually is. And the idea behind it is that you are sharing stories about your family in a way that is age appropriate to the people you are giving the information to, that is acceptable in the scenario that you are sharing it in, and is a way for you to connect with your family in that given situation. So, and I also sort of want to talk about it in a bit of a different way. I do have a video. I'm not going to play it because it is long, but it's Intergenerational Trauma. And it talks about the Aboriginal population in Australia. And it is such a beautiful video, such a powerful video that I will share either in the chat or in the minutes. But let me tell you, when you watch it, I got a little weepy, because the idea is that people pass on whatever their generation has had. And if they don't work it out, they pass it on to the next generation. And it just follows through until you have people so far removed from that trauma, 6 generations down the line, but they're still experiencing the same things. And the idea of family stories and the idea of having this to share these stories is to share it in a way where it's not going to traumatize your children. I'm just going to observe the chat. Yeah. And so the reason why I also want to talk about this is because I'm going to use this example. In World War I, there was something called the Holodomor, and the Holodomor was essentially the mass starvation of a lot of parts of the Soviet Union in order for Joseph Stalin to control the population. And there was a study that had been done where they basically said these people who were the parents of the people that had gone through this Holodomor, this mass starvation, this mass sort of idea of ethnic cleansing, had actually passed down that trauma to their families due to the idea that maybe they weren't sharing stories, that they weren't able to have those sorts of conversations with their children. And so I'm just going to keep this slide up, but I do want to talk about the reason why family stories are important and to sort of give you perspective on what that actually means. Now, I think a lot of the time when people think about stories, they just think, oh, it's just learning about somebody else. And yes, it is. But stories in a lot of ways, and I'm going to use a lot of metaphors here, so excuse me if I get lost in the sauce when I'm explaining, but stories are like jackets or armor for people when they want to interact with the world. And when they use it in a way to arm themselves to interact with whatever is going to hurt them or help them. And people who look like you, act like you, are your inspiration. You've grown up with them. Maybe they're your grandparents, your parents, your aunts, your uncles. Those people look like you. Those people have been around in your life for a very long time. And if you start sharing places and people and stories that are appropriate for the audience that you're sharing it with, they can use that to inspire themselves to do things that they thought were not possible. And to understand also, pain can be inherited as well if it's not addressed correctly. And if we address the pain we have now, the stories that we share with our family and our friends and our children won't hurt us nearly as much when we do decide to share them. Also understand that having stories of triumph, sadness, happiness, all those things are needed and wanted, because the only way that we can connect with one another is understanding how we interact with each other. And stories are one of those ways that we can do that. Also understand that your story is not the blueprint so much as it is a message saying that I am here in spite of, because of, aside from the thing that tried to hurt me, the thing that I had to come through, the thing that I had to go through. This is my story and I made it. And the idea is this authenticity to share from parent to child, from grandparent to grandchild, from aunt to niece. Those are those sorts of things. Now, a lot of people may wonder, what do you have to offer the world? And I think a lot of people don't know that your story is one of them. Those are the things that you can offer, the things that you think are so ordinary, but somehow can inspire others to have those conversations. So it can be anything you want, and nobody says the right thing. There's nothing that is to be said to be right. But if you say something in a way that's holistic, those people can be inspired to share their stories themselves as well. And also just do it with authenticity, and do it with the idea that you're doing it to share. You're doing it to have the ability to inspire or inform someone else of the things that have gone through your life, as well as getting these stories so that you will have the stories to share if those people are no longer in your life. Those stories keep people alive. Those stories keep people connected. So that is one way we can have connection, and actually one way we can combat a lot of grief. So that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about family stories? But I would encourage everyone to share their family stories around this holiday season to better connect generations throughout the holidays and this week especially.
Ruth, how are you promoting this program? What are you doing?
Oh, thank you, Barbara. I have a lot of different ways. I've done it through the county newsletter. I've just connected with people through different areas. Obviously, I'm just putting it in the chat in the PCMC group. So if anyone can send it for the Zoom, then you're always going to be on the listserv.
And how often are you doing it?
So I do it bi-weekly.
So approximately twice a month. One thing that we've seen with Ruth's numbers is that the attendance is low when she presents it, but since it is on our YouTube channel, she is getting a lot of views, you know, following up when people have the time, because that might not be the proper time slot. I know Heidi just got off, but she listens to Ruth's, you know, program like a podcast. So, and I see a lot of people are leaving. We really appreciate your time. We really appreciate you being here. So we understand it's in demand, because ours is too. So thank you for being here. And I just wanted to say, on top of what Ruth said, write them down or record them, because I remember asking some great prompts to my mother-in-law over Thanksgiving, and I was just kind of thinking back like, oh wait, what did she say? Like, you know, write these down, take notes to remember. And then if you're on like Family Search or Ancestry or any of those sites, they have actually expanded it now to not only allow pictures, but allow you to type narratives. So, you know, the way that your parents met, or the way that, you know, feelings about children or something like that. There's actually places where you can put that in, and you can lock them down so that nobody sees that, but you and your relatives. So just an idea. But I thought that was a great idea for the holidays, since some of us are going to be together. Sophia, thank you for being here. I am going to condense a little bit. We do want to hear from Carol Nicholas. She's going to talk about the community health assessment that was just released. I had the privilege of going to that release and hearing the in-depth findings and some of the things that were the impacts on the county. But Carol, if you just wanted to share some of that with us.
Thank you, Melissa. How long do we have before people have to go?
Technically, the meeting is scheduled till 11, but I don't know if people are going to survive that long on Zoom. So, like under 10, if possible.
Okay. First of all, I want to do a pitch. I signed up to be on the group that's working to improve the drug collection. And so I'm not sure what's the proper name of that group.
The prescription drug action team?
There we go. Okay, prescription drug action team. So I would love to hear who would like to be on that committee so that we can plan something in January and kick off with some great things. I did get the data on how much was collected in 2019, 20, and 21. So we've got a baseline. And so I'm really hoping that we will hear from a few of you and we can put together a really dynamic action team and get some things started. My email is posted on the chat. So this is an exciting year because every year the county and hospitals and health departments by law have to do an assessment for covering 3 years and an improvement plan. So 2021 was the year that we hired consultants and had focus groups and key stakeholder meetings and studies at the COVID clinics to try and figure out what's going on in Mercer County with the health. I do have a 20-slide PowerPoint. Am I allowed to, do you want to show it, Melissa? I can't hear you.
I just made you a co-host, so you can share now.
Okay. There we go. Okay, so for those who don't know, the Greater Mercer Public Health Partnership is a coalition of 4 hospitals, 8 health departments, and about 50 nonprofits, such as with people like yourselves. And we hired the consultants with the hope that they would help us get a snapshot of the health in Mercer County. And this time we are trying to focus more on the social determinants of health because that clearly affects the health of people, and the data will show that. And what I'm trying to do right now is condense a 100-page report of data findings and make it a little bit more interesting. I was so excited to hear Ruth's project because it fits perfectly into the improvement plan and preventing trauma, adverse childhood experiences, and creating resilience in families. So it's just actually going to be perfect to add that in as our improvement plan goal. So we asked the consultants to look at the social determinants of health and help us to see where the disparities are, and then show us ideas on how to leverage all of our partners so that we can improve the gaps in services. They did that by collecting secondary data from the state, from health resources, from the census, Center for Medicare, and probably 20 different other organizations. We conducted 200 surveys from key people who are like yourselves, who are in serving the public and trying to solve problems. We got 1,000 surveys at the COVID clinics. We had 70 small group, several small group meetings with 70 different people. And they came up with a strategic plan based on best practices around the country. So out of all that research came 4 priorities that rose to the top. in no particular order. Chronic disease and life expectancy, maternal and child health, behavioral health and trauma, and COVID. So these findings, if you live in West Windsor and you're Asian, you will live to be average 90 years old. If you live in Trenton and are Black, your life expectancy is 74.9. In the past, heart disease and cancer were always at the top of the list for all races and ethnicities, but now the whites, it's still the first two, and COVID's the third. But for Black and Latinas and Asians, COVID is the top killer of those ethnicities. A lot of this, when you look at the housing and people who are living in moldy houses are ending up in the ERs more often, chronic disease, they're not able to maintain their health because of the poor housing. And then also 1 in 10 Mercer County residents before the pandemic were food insecure. So we can only imagine what the pandemic and unemployment and isolation has done to those numbers, which we can't get exactly. So a lot of what you're seeing is from 2018. We asked this health consultants, what can we do about this? So they really asked us to focus on housing. So does that, I'm a public health nurse, so does that mean I'm going to go out and start working on housing campaigns to improve housing? No, it means that I'm going to have my health department and my coalition partnering with housing groups that are already working on those issues so that we can show them how important health is. Affected by poor housing options. If you're spending all your money on rent, then you don't have money left over for your health. And this is what we're seeing. So there's many faceted ways of dealing with the socioeconomic problems that we're facing. If your neighborhood's not safe, are you going to go out walking after work or in the evening? No, you're not. So of course, all these things affect your health and where you live in your community. So these are the suggestions that we'll be working on, partnering with other people who are working on those things. Also partner with faith-based groups, housing groups, employers, social services to host vaccine clinics and community clinics so that more people can have access to the services. Also, we want to screen more for social determinants and refer for services. We've got NowPow, and I don't know if everybody's heard of NowPow in Trenton, which connects social services with the hospitals and all the different agencies so that you can see, okay, Capitol Health sent this person and gave them opiates. Now they're going to St. Francis and asking for more opiates. And so it's trying to help understand what's going on with the patients and be able to communicate with all the different social services and communities, health groups. And then the other thought was maybe increasing the use of telehealth to improve chronic disease, to get more services to people. Maternal child is we really unfortunately rank one of the top in the nation as far as poor outcomes and disparities. Black women are more than 3 to 4 times likely to die in childbirth than other women and that's despite education, income, or socioeconomic factors. Only 65% of moms are accessing prenatal care in the first trimester, which is really poor. We should be up to 80.5% as a goal. 55.7% of Blacks and 51.8% of Latinas get healthcare in the first trimester. Why are we looking at the infant mortality rates? According to the CDC, infant mortality is the indicator of overall health of your society. It's sensitive to the general structural factors such as socioeconomic development and living conditions. The wife of our governor, Tammy Murphy, has formed a coalition, and over a couple of years, they came up with a plan, a strategic plan on how communities can address these alarming statistics. And there's 94-page report outlines 9 areas that communities can work on to improve social determinants of health that will positively improve the equity and impact the health of pregnant, postpartum women and infants. So what can we do? We are going to be trying to adopt the 6 principles of trauma-informed care. What Ruth just described is a form of trauma-informed care, okay? You're building resilience in populations. And so how do you build resilience? By having safety, trustworthiness, peer support, collaboration, empowering your clients, giving them a voice, and respecting and addressing their cultural, historic, and gender issues. We can hire and train staff for diverse communities to work in community health workers, patient navigators, doulas, support staff, incorporating social and emotional support and resources in all services. We can screen for trauma and make earlier referrals. This is both in mental health and in maternal health and chronic disease. And try and increase the capacity in our healthcare system, get more people insured so they can get services. Okay, then behavioral health, mental health, trauma. You're going to hear so much more about trauma these days, adverse events. I think one of the things that maybe we can do as a coalition here with the Mercer Council is maybe show the movie Resilience, because in 1 hour, you will get a whole overview of adverse childhood experiences and how, if you have certain things that happen in your life, it will affect your life expectancy. It will affect whether you get cancer, diabetes, heart disease 20 years later. When you start to look at health that way, it really shows how important it is addressing the early childhood experiences to prevent and build resilience in our children so we have more help. One interesting fact that I found from that resilience movie is when you have chronic stress and your steroids constantly pumping, trying to protect you and save you from these horrible experiences you're going through, it actually shortens the telomere on your gene so that the telomere helps to prevent mutations of your own genes. So as the telomere gets shorter, you have more mutations. So that's why you start to see cancer and things in people, and why some of them live 20 years less than others. So I think it's a great movie, and maybe we should make that one of our goals to show that to our group. In Mercer County, people rate mental unhealthy days a little bit higher than other counties. Again, this is 2018 data, so I'm sure based on what Camille and Carol just told us, those things are going to skyrocket and be much higher. I thought this one particular slide from the consultants would interest you. It's showing that alcohol and drug-induced deaths are still a priority in Mercer County. Unfortunately, those aren't statistics we like to see, but it is our reality. So incorporating the 6 principles of trauma that we covered in the maternal health will be another way that we can address and improve mental health and trauma. As the social determinants improve, the mental health and issues should improve. We hope to get more staff trained in trauma-informed care. I know about 4 years ago, Michelle Medieu from the Mercer County Mental Health Services did a training of about 20 organizations. Maybe it's time we redo that and see if we can get more trainings in all of our nonprofits. We hope to see more screenings of clients for trauma and social, and make sure they get proper referrals to support services. And again, increase capacity and increase telehealth. The final alarming statistic, of which I will share right now with you, is the death rates. We see the whites, everybody, health and heart disease and cancer were always at the top of the list for reasons of death, cause of death. But for African Americans, Asians, and Hispanics, it is now the #1 cause of death. So we need to address that by getting more clinics, reaching out to communities of color, to expand pop-up clinics, community health clinics, the mobile clinic, partner with our faith-based housing groups, community organizations to host vaccine clinics, improve education, get more information out there that people trust. It's so important. Once people trust the services, then they listen and follow the advice. And right now there's a big trust factor that's going on in our communities. So I think if we all work together, we can help to improve this. One other thing that got discussed from our partners was the benefit of belonging to a coalition like this. These are the words that were used: trust, empowerment, good communication, inclusion, collaboration, a sense of community. By belonging to the GMPHP, we were able to work collaboratively. You can use this data when you're trying to write your grants, when you're trying to change your pivot to respond to what's going on in the community now. This justifies a change in your missions and your goals. We share services. Barbara Spreckman might have a wonderful program to lead, but no place to run it. And we've got churches and places that want programs, have the space, but no one to lead the program. So these are just a few of the benefits that you can hear by belonging to the GMPHP. We hope that all the hospitals they're actually working right now on implementation plans and what they're going to contribute in the improvement plan. The health departments are working on that now. I'm going to be reorganizing these are the 4 new groups officially. So if you see that you're doing something in this group, please reach out to me and say, yes, I'm already doing trauma-informed care, or I'm already working on housing, or I'm already increasing the doulas or the outreach to my community. Give me feedback so that we can put these down in the improvement plan, and you can become a part of the GMPHP. The groups meet quarterly. It's low stress, low requirement. We just want to stay in touch, stay communicated, so we hear and feel what's going on in the community, so we can all pivot quickly to meet the health needs. That's it. There's my contact information. I hope that wasn't too much, too fast and clear enough. I'm happy to take questions.
So I'm sure a lot of people would want a link to this report. Are you able to share? I know you probably sent out a link before, but are we able to get a
I'm
link
happy
for the
to
coalition?
send, yeah, I'll send you the community health assessment and the improvement plan also. But the improvement plan, we didn't want to say, oh, Mercer Council is going to be doing this, because that's what you said last year. We want you to say what you want to work on in 2022 to 2025, okay? So that's why the improvement plan doesn't have anything listed as what the partners are actually doing. But yes, I will send that all to Melissa, and please send it out to everybody.
Thanks. I think we sent out the needs assessment. I think we sent that out with the last meeting, because I think it had just been released.
Yes.
Right at
Let's
the same
just
time.
re-add it to the minutes.
Yeah, let's add it again. I did put some notes in the agenda. It looks like Ellen has her hand up.
Yeah, I don't know that this is pertinent, but another group that I volunteer my time with, we're very involved. It's a state committee involved in maternal mortality rate in New Jersey. And we've done different panels with the major stakeholders and have recorded, obviously, the panels and the discussions that have happened with that. So I don't know if that would be important to you at all.
I would love to talk with you about that. So yes, please do reach out to me. And that's exactly, we don't want to be silos. We want everybody knowing what's going on and the resources in our town. And that was one of the good things that came out of doing this assessment, was we became so aware of the amazing responses to the COVID, the food. There is no reason anybody in Mercer County should be hungry. There was so much food going out to the pantries. We have 70 food pantries that were fully stocked. So there's a lot of good stuff going on.
And it was fantastic to see people mobilize so quickly, or when there was a hole to fill one. Owen, is your hand still up? Just want to make sure. Yeah, it's the same button under reactions. There you go. All right. Well, thank you so much, Carol. I mean, one thing that really, really spoke to me, especially with the backdrop of the last couple of years, was just how much the consulting firm and the GMPHP really recognize that race is a public health issue. and racism is a public health issue, and seeing where those disparities lie is one of the keys to really unlocking health overall in a community. And that was really one of my big takeaways from when it was presented originally. So thank you so much. I'm actually going to take the screen back.
Yeah,
You're welcome to send that out also if you want. If it's, you know, it might reach, people might not have time for a 100-page document, but they might have time for a 20-page slideshow.
That's what I was about to ask. I also love, Carol, that it sort of keeps in mind that it just considers all facets of someone's life. And that, you know, people are really trying, and sometimes they're not successful or where they want to be, not because they haven't tried, but because of everything else that's up against them. So it's good stuff. Melissa, you're sharing the agenda.
Yeah, I was trying to figure something out, but it's not working. Okay, here we go. So moving right along, we did want to get into some events, and right at the top of that is Barbara Spreckman's retirement open house. It's December 14th from 4 to 6. It will be in person. As I said, it's an open house type where you drop in, you drop out. I just put a big long spiel in the chat. It will go out with the minutes. Many of you probably got the formal invitation through Constant Contact, but anyone who wants to receive that or didn't receive that, just drop your email and I will make sure you get that. But all the information is there for you. Obviously with COVID, we have a very, you know, usually we would take her out in a huge restaurant and we would celebrate her and pour, you know, all of the lavish, you know, just desserts that she deserves. But with COVID, we have to keep that in mind. So it is kind of a walk in, walk out. And the theme, I loved the theme that Lisa came up with, is traveling into retirement. It is going to be RV themed. I've had some people reach out and ask some questions. So if you have further questions, you're welcome to ask me as well. So
and I'd love to see you. If you can pop in just for a minute, maybe I'll bring my truck and my travel trailer.
That'd be fun. We could all go home with
great, Barb.
Wouldn't that be fun? I'll pull
Yes.
into the parking lot.
Especially if you brought Lucy Goose. So that'd be even fun, more fun. But if anybody wants to take a moment, you're welcome to talk to Barb. Just unmute yourself. You're welcome to take a minute, because I know many people who already had to leave were here for that main purpose. But go ahead, the floor is yours.
I'll see you, Barbara.
Yeah, I'll be around. Don't worry. I'm not like leaving altogether.
I was going to say, I hope we still get to see you.
You bet. You bet. And I have
Yeah,
to
I don't think I'll be
say
able to function at the council without you, knowing that you're not going to be there. I'm just like, Barb. So it just keep around, just for my own sanity, please.
Well, I have to say, I feel like, you know, it's just been an amazing experience, my career here at Mercer Council. And yes, I did start the coalition, and, you know, but we have amazing members. We had amazing members, and it's just been growing and growing, and I couldn't leave it in better hands. Let me tell you, Melissa and Ruth are phenomenal. Between their technical expertise, their brainstorming, they're thinking out of the box. You know, I had my own skill sets, which I think was kind of maybe bringing people to the table and bringing speakers and so forth, but they're taking it to the next level. So I am so excited, and I can't wait to see when they win the CADCA Coalition of the Year Award, which I know will be coming down the pike at some point. But gosh, we're going to be onward and upward, and I'm thrilled. So thank you all for being a part of my life. And like I said, I'm still around, so all good, all good.
Thanks, Barbara. It's Carol Nicholas. Sorry that I won't be able to see you on the 14th. We have a child back COVID clinic that night. So I can't thank you enough for your support, and to the GMPHP and the Lawrence Health Department, and how you've just always been there for us. We're just so grateful for your expertise and the great things that you've done. So we're going to wish you well and good luck with everything, and hope we can all keep in touch somehow.
We will. We will. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, and you have to send all good selfies and pictures from all the places you go in your camper.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then, yeah, you can, Melissa, you can broadcast them on the coalition meetings.
Oh, that'd be fun. So where's Barb today? That can be our segment. Like, where was Barb this month?
Like just like a new business, like 5
Right?
minutes.
Yeah. Here's a screen. Here's her smiling. Here's her dog. Yeah, thank you so much for your confidence in us. It's funny because, Barb and I have worked so closely together these last 3 years. We were kind of a dual set, and sometimes I would go out and speak when they asked for Barb, and sometimes Barb would go out when I stuck for her, those kind of things. So I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to take on her position. And then it's like drinking out of a fire hose, she's just so talented, and she handles things so well, and she has such great relationships and established things that she just does naturally, that it's been a overwhelming transition, but thank you so much for preparing me so aptly and for your confidence. So I don't fill your shoes, but I appreciate still being here. Okay, I'm going to take you off the spotlight here.
Thank you.
The only other event coming up that I wanted to let people know of is that there is going to be a webinar with the Acting Attorney General tomorrow, and that is the opioid epidemic and the impact of race. And this is absolutely something we've been talking about with our community leaders. He's one of the ones, and then the captain of the New Jersey State Police is also going to be speaking. We got this through the DMI, the drug monitoring report that we get all the time. So that's tomorrow. I just put the link to the Zoom. Sounds like some good and some timely stuff. So if anybody of the few that are remaining, if there's any events upcoming, anything that you want to promote, anything you want to talk about with your organizations or your affiliations, please, this is your time.
Allison?
Wow, awesome. Hello, everybody. So we have an opportunity coming up on Sunday for anyone who might be interested in chronic healing. Maybe you've seen some of my posts out there in the City of Angels Facebook group. PCMC invited me in to do a lunch and learn a few months ago talking about chronic healing. And I found chronic healing because of my daughter's addiction. So chronic healing does a lot, physically, emotionally, mentally. There are clinical studies showing how well chronic healing works. There's a lot out there, but I don't want to, take all that time. What I will say, though, is that we're hosting an advanced chronic healing class this weekend. It's a 2-day class at City of Angels. And we are inviting people in for the students to practice on. And these are all people who have taken the introductory, the level 1 chronic healing class. A lot of them have been, well, actually all of them have been practicing. They've been working on COVID patients and others, so they already know how to heal. And they're going to be learning advanced healing techniques in this class. If you'd like to come in and have a short healing with one of the advanced chronic healing students, let me know, just message me. You can find me. We're keeping a list of people who are coming, and I just need your name, your age, and what physical condition you would like a healing for. Sunday afternoon. Thank you.
So you said at City of Angels, are they located in Hightstown? Is it Hightstown where they're located?
Yeah, they are, but this is going to be at the Dwyer Center in Hamilton. It's the old school building, the original City of Angels location. The class, and that's where we did one of our level 1 classes a couple of months ago. So this is going to be an advanced chronic healing class at the Dwyer Center. And we're inviting people in on Sunday afternoon. So if you're interested, just message me and I'll put you on a list and you'll have an appointment.
That sounds great. I had a mini session at an event once and it helped me breathe a little better. I'm asthmatic, so, and I know Barb, she cannot stop talking about it. She loved it. And she actually, I think she took a couple classes to help do it too. So that's wonderful. Anything else? I know with the holidays, sometimes those kind of overshadow some work events. I know we're gonna hit the ground running in January. We're gonna try to do a sticker shock this week. We are still teaching in Trenton schools. We're teaching in SciPac. We're teaching Anchor House. We're teaching IELTS with IELTS.
Trenton Central High School.
Yeah, Trenton Central High School. Mill Hill Peers, the Trenton Mayor Peers Group. So we're still trying to be a resource. Our start packets are getting an overhaul. Angela Campos, who spoke earlier, has been working so hard and diligently to make sure that start packet has been updated with even more resources and making it very concise. We're going to try to make it available in more languages. We'll make sure that all the membership gets a copy of that. We do have some little gifts for you if you are coming to the open house. Just see me for Barb and I will give you a little gifty as a thanks. You know how we are. We love to give out fun stuff and I haven't been able to do that for the last 2 years. So, come and I will shower you with cheesy gifts because that's what I do. All right, Ellen.
I just have a really silly question because I'm just kind of uneducated about it. Your sticker shock that you do with Joe Canals and stuff like that, do you do the same kind of thing at the smoke shops for the vaping and stuff and tobacco? Because aren't they supposed to be IDing for tobacco?
Absolutely. There is a program. Unfortunately, there's a whole bunch of different groups doing it. We do have a version of it, but it always seems like someone else beats us to it. It's called STOMP. It is the Tobacco Merchandiser Promise Program. It stands for something, STOMP. But it's those license plate stickers that say over 21. It's a little boot sticker that says stop, and then we have a pledge that says that they will, that the merchant, that the retailer will adhere to these policies. We don't necessarily have stickers for tobacco products. I don't know how that would work, but there are some groups around the state that are doing some of those things. One thing that Ruth and I have been in discussions with is talking about how we could do something similar for cannabis, how it's coming up. Also, one thing that we do with Sticker Shock is we go to pizza places and put them on pizza boxes as well, so it's not just on one product. So the stickers that we have now are primarily alcohol, but we also have social hosting stickers that also remind people don't provide under the age of 21. And we're probably going to have to redo those when cannabis comes out completely, probably mid-year next year, just to say, just a reminder, you're not supposed to provide under 21. But yes, Ellen.
I was just curious because of the vaping and the dangers of vaping tobacco that we've seen with the newest studies, but also with cannabis coming out and such a big market in the cannabis, world is cartridges to vape. So, trying to prevent that from getting into the hands of young people, but also then having them get cannabis cartridges that they can also use in the vaping.
Oh, trust me, there's this place in Hopewell that's on my list. Oh gosh. I've actually sent it to a couple of parents and they've written some Yelp reviews because they just do not care at all. If you have money, they don't care. They have no idea. They don't care who you are. We've seen kids go in there 11, 12 years old and they still get products, and not just tobacco either. It just makes me so angry. Every time I drive by, I say some words under my breath. But unfortunately, youth, the youth patrol officers, some of them that I work with are just so overwhelmed. There's so much going on that they can't enforce that as well as they'd want to.
I was just curious because I was thinking about it, and I know that's the time of year that you focus on alcohol with all the DUIs that they're, got grants for, that the law enforcement is doing. It made me think of vaping and tobacco and cannabis, and I didn't know. I know there's requirements for ages, but I didn't know if there was any programs that we had involved.
And I am the leader of the Incorruptible Tobacco Group, which is youth trying to do peer-to-peer intervention for that. And we have an active social media campaign. We did World No Tobacco Day. Was it World? No, it wasn't World No Tobacco.
Great American Smokeout.
Great American Smokeout, yes, last month. So, there are some things that we're doing. We're always looking for new suggestions. We work with the state. We work with other incorruptible groups throughout the state. Some, Atlantic County is kind of the model because there was a program several decades ago called Rebel, and it was part of the anti-tobacco campaign that was established by the state settlements back in the 90s, when Joe Camel went down. So their Rebel campaign just continued, and it kind of morphed into Incorruptible, where several of the other counties and other states, their tobacco funding went away. And so it was no longer seen as a priority. And then, of course, vaping came back, and now it's a priority again. So, Jayshree, I see you have your hand up.
Hey, Ellen, that was a great question. That's what I was thinking. So thanks. I've always heard about sticker shock, but that's a great question. So yesterday I was listening to the radio while driving home, and I'm not sure, but this is what I heard. They said there's a new law that anyone who sells cigarettes has to also sell something like to prevent, something like the patches and things like that is what I understood. I was a little distracted. So do you know anything like that? Maybe it's in the works. It was on 101.5. So
do any of my community partners know anything, Natasha or Giselle? I hadn't heard that yet. We haven't had a tobacco meeting for about 3 weeks now. We are having a big meeting next week. So maybe they're going to talk about it. One thing that we still haven't addressed a lot of is that the FDA actually approved Views vaping as a smoking cessation tool. It was very loosely approved. In fact, there was a huge outcry saying you're willing to trade the lives of teens or the health of teens for money. It's pretty much what people said, but it still hasn't been proven to be a smoking cessation device. It's still heavy on nicotine. It still contributes to nicotine addiction. But they are.
And the latest study said it's more dangerous than actually smoking a real cigarette.
Stroke risk, yeah, especially. So, it's still controversial, and it is in the hands of anyone who wants it, unfortunately. And that's one thing that we're constantly trying to talk about. We do have a partnership with the New Jersey Quit Center, as well as the tobacco counseling centers here in Mercer County. If you know anyone who wants to do that, I can absolutely send that information. And that is virtual, in-person, telephone, and text. But these kids need resources on how to stop, because they said, they've been saying, oh, I can stop, and then the next thing you know, they're trapped in a nicotine addiction for their life. And that's what the tobacco companies are hoping for. And the tobacco money is absolutely being invested in cannabis right now. So we're going to see the same thing of access and availability, and the social norms changing about these substances.
I wanted to add that when I worked at Princeton's health department, they actually did almost like a sting where they had a teenager go into a store to buy cigarettes, and they actually got 3 different stores and fined them for serving. But now with COVID, there's no way that they have time to go off and do things like this. So I think we need to think of other ways to ask the stores to comply with the law. We can't count on them right now.
Yes. Yeah, we were actually planning a sting with Lawrence. My son and my daughter were going to be involved, but just like you said, priorities have shifted with COVID. So
right. Was this pre-COVID?
Yeah, it was pre-COVID. So, anyone else have anything that they want to share, put on the agenda or minutes? We could absolutely, if you have something like Sergeant Martinez, as I said, if you would like to present next month, we would, or it doesn't have to be next month, but pretty soon, we'd love to hear more about your services and what you're doing with the community. All right.
Absolutely. I'm here for it all.
Thanks so much. Actually, would you mind putting your email in the chat? You can send it just to me if you'd prefer, but I'd love to know how to reach you.
Yeah, no problem.
Everyone have wonderful holidays. I know some holidays are over, some holidays are just starting, and then there's several more in between. Have a wonderful new year. We will be back the second week of January, just like always, Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Please invite your friends, invite people you work with, people who aren't your friends, people that should be here at the table. And I think that was one thing that Jayshree and Ann DeGennaro and Ruth and I were all talking about. One thing that we really have a goal for this coalition is to look at the table, look here at our Zoom, who's missing that really could fill a need in the community, whose voice, what industries, what kind of groups would help us have the most resources available for our youth and for our communities in general. And, just kind of think about that, send out invitations. We are open to all. We do have some events coming up on our calendar at mercercouncil.org. You're welcome to refer your friends there. So unless other people have things to say, I think we have a successful coalition meeting.
I just heard that Lawrence High School is on lockdown. They arrested one kid so far and found a gun in his backpack, and now they're searching the whole school.
Yeah, I was getting texts throughout the meeting. I was told not to announce it, but since it's out, a child had a gun on the bus. When somebody reported him, when the bus got to the school, the kid ran off. So they put the school in lockdown just for caution. The kid was apprehended, but we don't know if there were other people involved. And I did ask, did they have the gun when they were apprehended? And they didn't say anything. So, I hate that we have to think about this with our children in schools, but it is a very real thing here in the United States. So, all right, with that happy note,
off, so I wasn't getting paid.
With that happy ending there. But please stay safe. Have wonderful holidays. Take some time to connect with your family and write those memories down. And as Carol Feldman said, take a moment to prioritize and fortify yourself. So
share a good story with your family.
Yes, yes. Take care, everyone. And you're welcome to email us, marnold@mercercouncil.org, rdelpino@mercercouncil.org. So thank you. Barb, we love you. You're going out with a bang.
I love you all back. Take care.
Take care, guys. Thanks for hanging in there.
Bye-bye.